Welcome to Candid Talks. My name is Shawn, and I'm happy that you've joined me today. Today is the day that I want to talk about one of the most exciting projects that I have planned that I would like to accomplish. And this is a 5-day adventure hike project. I believe that connecting with nature and getting back out there into the wilderness would definitely be advantageous for people. So I propose and have this idea for a 5-day adventure course that goes up through the wilderness. And the vision is that this 5-day hiking experience would have 3 difficulty levels. There would be a beginner elevated wooden walkways where accessibility would be focused on. And then there would be your intermediate with traditional hiking trails, followed by an advanced where extreme challenges such as rappelling or whitewater rafting, but any other interesting obstacles that we could use. And there would be a connected series of theme-based camps. So the idea is that as people are going through these different camps, now they could leave the camp when they got there, or they could continue on through the course, and each of the base camps would be themed. And overall, this would be a sustainable and a community-driven project. It would allow for people to live on camp. They could stay on with the camp and possibly help and assist travelers who were making their way through. Now, the interesting thing, as I mentioned, is the unique base camps. There could be 5 distinct themed overnight locations. One of them would be an Ewok-style treehouse village. So we could build the actual places people were sleeping in, like the Ewoks in the massive tall trees, if we could find something like that. There would also be a Hobbit-style underground hillside house type of structures where you get to live within the earth. Modern-day fairy tale-like Hobbit houses built within the earth to allow for that true reconnection with the earth. There would also possibly be an eco-friendly Lego construction camp, so an entire camp made out of Lego pieces. And these Lego pieces wouldn't necessarily have to be the size of your traditional Lego. They could be larger blocks of Lego. However, everything in the camp could be made from this Lego construction. An additional theme perhaps would be Minecraft, where everything was a block. Everything was shaped like a block. Or maybe not Minecraft in the animation version, perhaps a Minecraft theme that connected with nature. Natural trees and everything is just the actual way that they are. Pixelized, I guess is the right word. That would be the main difference. The final camp could be a survivor-style camp, complete with its own grounds where challenges could take place between teams of people who had made it through all of the 5 camps. And the interesting thing about all these unique base camps is they could have people with passions for those specific creations. Like the people staffed, it should probably not be too hard to find people for Ewoks if they want to live like an Ewok. Like the place would literally look like an Ewok, so I'm sure it'll be easy to get staff to live there, and it would be all self-sustainable. Like we'd work to the way of getting the actual each camp. They would be perhaps making their own food and living within their own communities and then guiding people through and allowing people to live on. Also, this allows for a cultural and educational hub. So there are Aboriginal peoples that are located in and around these areas. And so we would bring that in, bring the architecture, bring the people, bring the community, bring the connection of humans with nature, bring that all back into the area. And of course, this could be an opportunity for people who had lived in the city their entire lives to actually get out in nature and meet other people who have perhaps lived within nature or aligned with nature for a lot longer. So let's talk about funding. Well, the funding for this could be through the Patreon community. So as I've mentioned before, I launched a program where $11 per month. And if we could get 1 million people, think about the projects that we could create. The other possible approaches to a funding model would be to the nonprofit approach. And of course, in an essence, this is going to be nonprofit. The actual camps themselves, they would be self-sustained. Perhaps there would be funding from the Patreon, as I said, but the people who lived there would be creating that community. Perhaps in the beginning, there would be some sort of revenue stream for people wishing to participate, because essentially those people would be donating to the creation of it and be part of the original beta testers. And they could help create it to be better. So those would be more so visionary people that saw a potential and wanted to have an experience and had, in this time that we're living in, money that they could invest or donate or however they want to see it. This would allow for us to have staff members. There could be possibly patrons who wish to pay for the whole thing. So allow for me to organize it, work with a group of people, create it, and perhaps someone just simply wants to fund it. And this would be a perfect service exchange option for participants as well. So people that wanted to take on the course and even help create it could also be participatory in experiencing it. So perhaps those who experience it afterwards help, for example. So perhaps there's a exchange program. Now, the social and health benefits of this program would be exceptional because, as I mentioned before, people would be getting back into the forest, back in touch with the trees and the nature and the dirt and the fresh air and the air filled with lots of really good oxygen, and they would be stepping out of their normal routine. Now, if we could find a way to do this without having to charge people money, perhaps there was just a reservation system where everyone was able to participate at the minimal amount of cost. See, it all depends on how and when this is started and who starts it. And so therefore, the cost of it is dependent upon all of that. However, I feel that the objective of the project would be to eventually get it to a place where there was no cost, where everyone in the world had the opportunity to go through this course. The benefits of such a physical health, obviously. So not only mental health, getting out there, connecting with nature, obviously physical health, training to do them, and building your way up. Perhaps in the beginning, someone might work on the base course of just elevated walkways. And this is safe and secure. It's eligible for wheelchairs and other concerns. And it's not on top of the root system. An option for bicycles. Like bicycling through an elevated pathway through the forest might be something that is occasionally reserved, days that are reserved for it. That would be an option as well. And then you could build your way up. Mental well-being, because you're being out in nature. And the elevated pathways, for example, would give people who are generally inaccessible to those types of environments the ability to be out there within nature. Some people could take a longer time. They could go slower regardless of their situation. There could be people that will do it quite fast. There could be possibly a shorter way and a longer way. There's just so many different options we could do. But more importantly, this gives more people an outdoor access to this type of environment. And from each of those base camps, you could have it so that there's exit points. It doesn't have to be the full 1 to 5 days. There could be exit points. The final one could have, perhaps maybe we have an on-site helicopter that for completing the course, when you do exit the camp, that you get to go in a helicopter. Have that once again funded by this whole project. Also a benefit, a huge benefit, is the social impact. How well it brings communities and people together. And it opens, as I mentioned before, it opens social avenues that perhaps weren't available before. Or people had a preconceived idea what it was like to be in a specific place. This not only challenges our physical prowess, it also challenges our ability to adapt and to explore possible misconceptions we had about certain things. And so this definitely helps unite and strengthen local communities where they can support it, the project as well, and they can also participate. Not only that, these different camps need to be built before they're maintained. They need to be built. So there could be builders that want to showcase their art, for example. The local populations could participate in creating them. And so there's a lot of uniting going on in this whole idea, and bringing the people within the nature and uniting them with the people in the city, and uniting everyone with nature more so. And in closing, a call for action. You know, there's a very famous saying that if you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change things in your life. So a lot of people want the world to change, and they're unaware that in order for things to change, we have to change things in our lives. And it's usually those things that we resist most to change. See, life is completely about change. Everything is change. Just for the fact that seasons change, there's supposed to be a constant change, but we've held on. For an example, there's a difference between summer body weight and winter body weight. And we hold on to it because traditionally in the winter, we wouldn't have as much food. And so we would hold on. So our bodies still have a change built right into them. However, most people resist that. They see a little bit of body weight. They don't take water retention into consideration, or they don't take time of the month, or they don't take time of the year. Change is really built right into our life. And so if we can start doing things that are outside of our wheelhouse, such as an adventure hike into the mountains and into nature, into reality, into Mother Nature. Yeah, there's a better word, into Mother Nature. Then we can reattune and realign ourselves with nature. And then this is perhaps what will allow us to heal. And so, as I said, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we've got. And so when we change what we're doing, and this project would definitely help change. One of the secrets that I had learned was that the elite, we'll call them that, they would get into these parties and do all this funky body maneuver because they knew that changing your physical feeling can possibly open up you energetically to being more receptive to change, not getting stuck in those straight habits back and forth, that strict routine. And then that can open up more potential to come into your field. This will create that opportunity for some people to be able to go out. And it's a grand adventure, and it's not necessarily something that I want to run. I want to help create it. And I know that there are people out there that are going to help make it even better. Like, I have my idea, great, here's the idea, let's talk about it. And other people to listen to what I said and add their portions in. And then we come together with something super amazing, an experience that everyone wants to have. Not everyone, everyone who wants to have it is available and can have it. Like, imagine having tour groups come over from other countries specifically to try this, and how we can bring all peoples into this. And here's another thing. When we have one, we can have a couple different ones going through different biomes, but have people going through all the different courses and doing them in such a way that somehow they are how they work together. I don't know. I'm just having other little ideas while I'm talking right now. But this 5-day adventure hike could be recreated all over the world with different groups of people. I even had this one idea for the base camps to employ people who perhaps normally weren't employed. And I'm not talking about convicts. I'm talking about people who have handicaps, for example. Perhaps this will give people who just can't live with their whatever issues they have, perhaps out in the nature where things are more in harmony and there's less noise, less distortions. Perhaps those people would thrive given an opportunity to have employment within that very calm, relaxing natural habitat. Might be very beneficial for a lot of people. And so there could be even support communities of people who perhaps thrived in that environment of tranquility while they worked on their own personal healing. There's a lot of different possible benefits to this project, and that's why, or one of the reasons anyway, why I have the Patreon, is so perhaps that we could come together and be able to fund these projects that I have in my head, or at least get it started, get the funding started, get the conversation going about creating this and other projects as well. I have a lot of ideas for different projects. Another one that I have in my mind is a new style of farmers market, where that's where we all move to, where we all get our food from, and we no longer support companies that don't necessarily support humanity. 5-day adventure hike. What do you think? What are your thoughts? In the comments, leave your thoughts. Share. Your sharing might be the comment that sparks someone else's creative explosion of ideas. Rather than just polarity comments, perhaps share your own ideas. And let's get this world, this earth that we live on, into a state of restoration. I hope you've enjoyed this talk, and I know that this is something that I want to create and be a part of. So if you want to as well, then join me. And like, subscribe, all that stuff, whatever. YouTube will allow me to share my information when YouTube allows me to share it. And until then, thank you.